All right, ladies and gentlemen, podcast listeners and viewers, thanks for joining the Off the Deck podcast with your host, Chris Plum. I'm the head coach and CEO of Carmel Swim Club and head coach of Carmel High School Swimming and Diving. Excited to bring you this podcast today with a very special guest, a 2017 Carmel High School graduate and 2021 future graduate of Harvard University. He will be attending the IU Marr School of Law next year on a full scholarship. So he's obviously had a lot of success, and we're excited to have him on. But before we do that, I'm going to bring you today's quote as we begin our practice today. And I'd just like to begin this with, I don't know if it's true, I just know it works. So the quote is from Matthew McConaughey's book, Greenlight. And it says, "It is not about win or lose. It is about, do you accept the challenge?" And I just love that. I think I've said that, not that concise. So to be able to hear that and read that from a book, it just really spoke to me and how I coach our athletes. And I just think it's important to embrace the challenges that are in front of you and not focus on that win or lose pressure that can come. And, coaching a team that where the girls have won 35 in a row, everyone always jokes, is there pressure? And yeah, there might be a little bit of pressure, but I view it as positive. And we just talk about embracing the challenges, embracing the day to day, and not living in this binary world of win or loss, winning and losing. Just being about that moment and taking some of that pressure off, and raise your standards, do the best you can, and give it your all, and let that win or loss help you be a better person. And not having that win or loss define your character and who you are, but how you approach it is just the most important thing. And I think a person who's done a great job of that is our guest today, Mr. Charles Vaughan. Charles, welcome to the Off the Deck podcast. How are you today?
Thanks, Chris. It's a privilege to be here. I'm great. I'm excited to have a great discussion. I love that quote.
I knew you would, and I figured that was very appropriate for you. So Charles, tell us, before we dive in, and I like that pun, obviously, with the Off the Deck podcast, but, give us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, maybe key moments in your life and where you are today.
I grew up West Lafayette area up until my freshman year of high school, or through my freshman year of high school, most of it at least. I kind of did a couple different sports as I grew up, nothing very seriously. And then I began to swim pretty seriously around 5th or 6th grade, but I'd always been in the pool, be it for a couple months a year up until that point. And I swam on a club team in West Lafayette. And I had done that for a while, and I started to begin to kind of chase more and want more, and through some coaching changes and different things and opportunities that were presented in Carmel, I moved to Carmel, swam obviously as a part of the Carmel Swim Club and Carmel High School team for 3 years. An absolutely amazing experience. I mean, especially now as I'm no longer swimming, I just look at it so fondly, all my memories, even the smaller club days in Lafayette, West Lafayette. I just have such a special place. Swam at Carmel for 3 years, grew a ton there, took myself to the next level, was able to become a junior national champion and swim at much of the highest levels that I you could do at a high school, or very close to those highest levels. And then I went on and I swam at Harvard, my first 3 years at Harvard. And then I would have been swimming obviously my 4th year. But due to, COVID and everything, that our season was canceled. But yeah, that's kind of, where I'm at right now and kind of how I got here.
Yeah. And so where are you today right now?
Right now I'm sitting in Vaughan & Vaughan, which is my kind of my family's law practice. We're kind of throughout Indiana, but right now I'm sitting in Lafayette. So
yeah, it's great. So you're living out your dream right now, working for your dad.
Yeah, it's been the last few months, especially kind of the realization of that dream. I had the most amazing opportunity, swimming in college. I always wanted to take a sport to college and do it at a very high level, which I was able to, and also like push myself academically, which I was able to do. And then I always knew kind of when that chapter would end, I was looking forward to going to law school, and going to Indiana University Law School down in Bloomington this fall. I mean, and I'm getting to work, in the field that I want to do with my family and chasing, goals and excellence and in a different field. It really is kind of, my dream. So yeah, I couldn't be any happier.
Yeah. All right. Let's kind of switch gears here a little bit. Do you remember your first experience with water and what was that like?
Yeah. My first experience with water. Well, I started very young. I mean, I think actually a lot of parents and people thinking about putting their kids into a swim team can relate to this. I mean, I was a little kid. I was a very rambunctious little boy. I was always all over the place, and it's carried through, but it was especially so when I was young. And my family, sometimes on the weekends we would go to like a family member and see them, at a lake or a pond, or at different places around water. We were, around water a lot, and I would escape and I would get out towards like the lake or like dangerous areas, and my parents would just freak out. And so they put me in small, just to start, swim lessons to get myself familiar and get a feel for the water and see how I liked it, and mostly just for safety. I mean, frankly. And so I started with just, swim lessons at like, I think it was at the time Lafayette Area Aquatics, like Stingrays had a little, lesson program, and that's really where it all started for me.
Okay. So you were a kid who was like always around water and around people's houses and stuff like that, right? Very
exactly.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you don't have to be nice just because I'm interviewing here today, but tell us about, when you came to Carmel, what do you think you learned, and what was that culture like for you?
Yeah. So I think so much of the value in Carmel is juxtaposing it to like the status quo, I think, because when you go, you kind of grow up in the Carmel program, that is your norm. That's what all swim teams are like. I think what separates Carmel so much is that it's not the norm. It's, it's a whole nother level. It's an embracing, it's a very intense culture, but yeah, kind of like you're asking like the changes in the culture at Carmel and that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, like when you were there, I think the culture changed a little bit, but obviously I think when I know you and I've talked post swimming, and you always talk to me about how important that culture was to you and how it helped inform you. So, maybe elaborate on that.
Yeah. And what's so unique about it is that there's so many people at such a high level, and everyone is, pushing each other to be better in those little ways and those little details. And I think, when I got to Carmel, it was very much, things will take care of themselves, come, the end of the season. Things will take care of themselves. Little details, we'll put those together at the end of the season. I don't need to worry about them now. And, I can be late and I can do all these little things. And Carmel was, no, you do everything, you do the little things right all the way up until the big thing. So when it comes to the big thing, you can handle that. And it's to you, it is routine. To you, performing at the highest level is routine. And that each day at Carmel is kind of performing at that highest level with the talent that you're surrounded by, and the work ethics you're surrounded by. And, it's a detail-oriented culture. It's a culture focused on getting better and supporting each other. It's not, when you're on a team, especially I think in the last few years I was there and when I visited, it's grown a lot, but that support system, it doesn't feel so much like you're competing directly with your teammates. It feels like, hey, I'm trying to make you better. We're both here on the same path here with similar goals. Let's get each other to the next level. And, through through lots of growth and through lots of challenges and through lots of hard workouts and through lots of meets, you get to really, go through that and embrace that. I think if that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I thought that's a great point that you made. And because, the boys are now, and I think you were one of the start of the streak, if I have that correct, the 7-year streak that the boys have. But you were at the beginning, and the way you guys were able to lift each other up. And one of my favorite memories of you was, we knew we had a tight meet. The first couple events maybe didn't go our way. And I remember talking to you before the 200 IM, and you won that 200 IM. I remember you just came home like a madman that last 50. Talk about that team culture and what, you guys did for each other and the brotherhood that you guys formed.
Yeah, I mean, we had such an awesome group of guys that year. And every year is a unique group of guys. I think that's one thing that's important to realize. It's not, one continuous thing, but, we support each other. We all wanted each other to be successful. We all knew what it took to get that championship. It's no easy feat. Every year it's a new challenge. Every year another team's going to have great, awesome, talented guys that have worked very hard, to put themselves in a position to win. And you have to respect that. And I think, every day in practice, we formed this group. We're like, hey, like we need to do this. We want to do this. We need to find what events we can do it at. And we understand that it never goes perfectly. And so we were able to really roll with the punches and have fun with it. And when it did get challenging, we stepped up and we put an attitude on that said, you know what, it's not over till it's over, and we're going to hammer it together. And I think each event that went on, it got better and better, and the attitude got better. And, maybe we had a little bit of a rough start. Everyone has rough starts to a practice, but we were able to close it, really well. And I think that's kind of what that team was at that time. It was a fun group that just kind of got better. So.
Yeah, I would agree. Switching maybe a little bit to long course, and maybe kind of a moment that helped, maybe you struggled with, but maybe helped to find you down the road. And that was, I remember the 200 breaststroke, trying to get your Olympic trial cut. We're in 2021. Kids are in that spot now. They're trying to get their trial cut. And you get your trial cut, or you missed your trial cut, and then you got DQ'd on the time trial. And, when you reflect upon that moment now, what thoughts come up, and are you better now because of that, do you think?
Well, there's no question that I'm better because of it. No question at all. But I think when I reflect back on that, I think a lot about, at that point in my life, I was very results oriented. I was like, I need to go this time because I need to go this time. I need to go this time because I need to go to a college. I need to go this time because I need to get to that Olympic trials meet, because that's what a good swimmer is. I need to, all those things. Like, I need to go this time because of this. It was, and that was like all I was chasing in that point in my swimming career. And sometimes it doesn't go, perfectly. And I had, call it what you want. I got the cut, but I got disqualified. So did I get the cut? It's kind of one of those things, but, it was a defining point in my career in swimming, because I had to realize, like, am I really like just purely results oriented, or is this something I love to do because I love to do it? Yeah. And at that point, when I had that meet, it was pretty much my last chance to get that trials cut. So there was no more like, let's go try again, especially, carrying a long taper and such. So I had to reflect. And then after that, it took a while, but I really started to understand that I was a process-oriented swimmer. I love the process. I love I love the daily grind in many ways more than I enjoyed the end of season meets. And I started to realize that, which I love the end of season meets, but I loved, the process of getting better. And I had to kind of, grapple with that. And honestly, when I became process-oriented and didn't worry about the times, it all solved itself. All the times found their way in the picture of my life. So, you know.
Yeah. And I know that was a tough moment, and thanks for sharing that. And maybe too, that kind of helped you through your freshman, sophomore year, junior year at Harvard. And I know you finished on an incredible high at Harvard. I remember looking at your times at the end, and I was so happy for you, but I know it didn't start out that way. And so just think about your resilience at Harvard. Can you talk a bit about your career there and what changed maybe for your success by the time you left?
Yeah. In realizing, I'm a process oriented swimmer, and, everyone's process is different. Everyone's journey to a best time is different. Everyone's seasons look different. Everyone's performances in season change. And I'm someone who, I will give everything to every workout. I don't understand the idea of, self tapering or any of these things. Like I do the work, and I expect that, it's what matters is the end of the season. And it's never for lack of effort, but my body gets pretty broken down during the season. And I had a hard time mentally with that for the first couple of years. And I think I had, I had to figure out ways to perform to show that I was, able to get onto that Ivy team at the end of the year, which was kind of the goal. That's kind of a goal when you're on the Harvard team, to be on that conference team and then potentially go to the next level in NCAAs. And I had also, not wanted to accept, some things with the process. I was grappling with, swimming in the summer and working and being able to balance it all. And I had a hard time balancing, a hard time understanding my own personal process, especially my first couple of years. And I struggled. I, went much slower than I went towards the end of my high school career, and couldn't put together best times, and stressed a little bit too much about how I would swim in season, how I wouldn't do, too well potentially. And then I remember that third year, coming into that summer before my junior year, it was, Charles, you strip your ego out of this swimming equation. You're going to go back to Carmel. You're going to go put the work in. You're going to go enjoy the process. You're not going to worry about times. You're just going to go there and get better day in and day out. Whether, you're training with the 13-year-olds because you're out of shape and that's just where you're at, you need to accept it and give it your best and let that growth happen. And then just train as hard as you can and enjoy the process. And changed my training regime a little bit going into my junior year, and stressed a lot less, enjoyed my time in college a bit more. And I had never made the Ivy team, and I went from never making the Ivy team to getting second place individually at the Ivy League champs and being on the final, medley relay for our team. And it was that, transition of just owning the process, owning it from the beginning all year round, not allowing myself, to have any excuses or anything. But all in a good way, all in like a way of growth that's helped me so much now, especially as I go to law school. But yeah, I mean, if that kind of describes the transition a bit, and the struggle, and then the owning the process, and also being able to, I was lucky I was able to balance work with swim very well going into my junior year too. But yeah, does that?
Yeah. So, and I remember we had that great conversation. You just said to me, you go, listen, I'll do whatever you want. And I was like, okay, let's find this out. And then I remember you did, and you swam great. And I was just so happy for you, looking at your results from that year. But just more than that, it was, okay, I'm going to put my trust in my coaches, and then good things happen. Right. So, and then let's talk a little bit about Harvard, obviously an elite institution. You're trying to be a Division I athlete and, attend one of the most prestigious schools in the country. How do you balance that? And how do you do that, Charles?
Yeah, I mean, it is incredibly difficult, and it was for me, especially, for me being an economics major. It's not always, an extremely difficult, major relative to the others at Harvard, but there are times where the crunch, it comes down, and you have to. You're doing a tough balance with swimming and school, but, the key is really to take any, pride out of it, to schedule your classes in the best way, to ask for help, ask for advice, get pointed in the right direction from your, upperclassmen in terms of balancing the academic side, is asking for advice, pacing your courses, and taking advantage of all, we at Harvard is very proud that their athletes do not get any advantages in terms of course scheduling, in terms of tutors, in terms of anything over any regular student. So we're essentially regular students who just also have to swim 20 plus hours a week. So
every day.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're at the pool, back and forth, or at the pool for like 5 hours a day. But so you're really required to take advantage of those around you and, plan yourself out and ask about courses and figure that out on the academic side. So you have to be humble, willing to ask for advice, willing to work very hard, and willing to work, pretty long hours and work on the weekend. And that's the way it is. And that's the way it is at a lot of schools though. So I'm not going to sound like, it's just there, but you just have to be willing to, do the work. And then, on the swimming side, we're fortunate that, during the college season, it's a very serious, we're very focused. We're able to train at a pretty high level. But then there are more challenges in the other times of the year. Once you leave championship season, the school, you kind of have to balance it more, and especially in the summer as well, you have to, balance it more because you're not able to train with the college team as much. So it's just one of those things where it's not necessarily the path to least resistance, like I've said before to you, in terms of swimming fast times. But when you figure it out and when you're able to do it for yourself, what it teaches you for life and how it sets you up after, it's something I couldn't appreciate more now, because now I feel like I don't have to go through so many of those times of growth that people go through after the 4 years of college. I went through that there, and I was able to figure it out. And that's something I was super lucky to have,
Yeah. And, I obviously you're excited for law school. Your dad, as you said, you're in his law office. What role model, or, what role did he play in your life for your success?
Yeah, I mean, he was an example. He was someone who was always looking to be extremely, successful, but a man with very high standards, incredibly high standards, and one that never settled for anything than the best in terms of effort, in terms of preparation, and in terms of you can handle what anyone else can handle, and that's what I'm going to make sure you know. But at the same time, he understood his role as being a dad in this whole process, because being a very high level athlete, dealing with very high level coaches is very demanding for the coach part of the relationship. It's very demanding for the swimmer part of the relationship, as we've been through, Chris, for many years. And then to add that complicated factor of a parent who has emotion behind performance, and they want the best for you. Every parent does. But I was so lucky in that he was able to recognize, I'm not your coach. I'm not going to pretend that I understand swimming. I'm not going to pretend to critique you or anything, but I am your dad. I'm here to support you. And I know you well enough to know when you're giving it your best. And if you're giving it your best and you're preparing as hard as you can, that's when I'm happy, but you better be doing that, and I'll make sure you are. Yeah. So it's kind of one of those things. He balanced a fine line of pushing me hard, but being a very supportive parent. And my mom, very much the same, very supportive. Never tried to pretend. She knows a lot about swimming. She's been around it for 10 years, so she knows, but she never tried to be anything other than my mom. So I was lucky for both of them in that way, to be examples, to have high standards, but to be very supportive along, my journey.
Yeah. And I remember first meeting your mom, because she was probably working the food in Lafayette at the Aquatic Center. So,
yeah,
very involved. Your mom was extremely supportive. And I just think it's so important to have a supportive family group in the sport of swimming, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, it's incredibly important. I mean, just being there for your kid, understanding that not every day is going to be the best, and you learn the most from when you're going through the most adversity. And so that's something that's oftentimes hard to understand too when you're in it. It's easy to understand when you're out of it, but yeah, just being supportive through the whole process. It is. I just can't even begin to describe. Like it is the number one thing a parent can be and do, and to respect the difference between being a parent and a coach, and the difficulties of being a parent and the difficulties of being a coach.
Yeah.
So like both roles are very challenging. It's not like as a parent you step out and you don't worry because you're still going through a lot of emotions, and it's very challenging. It's just there are different roles that require different things.
Yeah, I know. As a father and a coach of two boys who are swimming in meets, it can be tough to separate yourself. So I certainly understand. So we're going to switch gears here, and we call this the sprint finish or the finisher, Charles. So some quick questions. First thing that comes to the top of your head, and we're just going to roll with it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, who would you like to do a social kick with? Anybody, anytime.
The first person that came to my mind was Gabe Whitaker. Just for context, he was a senior my sophomore year, and he was someone who was able to instill that have fun but work hard culture on our team when I was at Carmel, and I miss him a lot. That would be the first person.
I love it. Yeah, that made me laugh. What song would you least like to pop up during workout?
Okay, so Chris Vaughan, when I was at West Lafayette that freshman year, he, as soon as Thanksgiving was over, he put Christmas music on, and then he put Christmas music on until February, and it was the only thing we listened to. And so now I cannot hear. If a Christmas music comes on during practice, I lose it. So that was first.
Right. Okay, so too much Christmas music for you.
Yeah.
All right, deep end or shallow end?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Deep end or shallow end? Where would you rather swim?
Deep end. Yeah.
Deep end, yeah. Okay. Would you rather have to do reverse circle or a breath control set?
Breath control set.
Okay. What would be your perfect IM order?
Ooh. I spent so many years trying to maximize the one that we've got right now. That's the perfect one for me, I'll tell you.
All right, that's fair. Kickboard or no kickboard?
No kickboard.
No kickboard. Okay. Kick or pull?
Kick.
Kick. Oh, okay. Would you rather be in a pool that is too warm or too cold?
Too cold, 10 times out of 10.
Okay. Are you going first or last in your lane?
Oof. I'm probably going last, to be honest.
Yeah. If you say first, I'm going to call you out on that.
Yeah.
All right. How many strokes per 25 are you allowed with a kick set?
0.
Oh, okay. You're going to go.
I mean, I'm usually doing 1 on the flip in because I don't have a board, but sometimes when I'm really tired, there might be 2, but usually I try to go for 1.
Okay. All right. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us. Charles, we thank you for your time. We wish you the best of luck at law school. We know you're going to do great things, and we look forward to having you back on our next Off the Deck podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.